Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project. I'm your host, Duc with Tri-City Equity Group. Today we have Gino Barbaro on the show. With me is my co-host, Vince.
Hey, Duc, I am so excited about today's show. I could bring my mentor on, Gino, who's been a second father to me and has been instrumental into my growth over the last 2 years. If you've listened to my story for the previous episodes, or if you know me personally, you know that in 2018, I went out and I was seeking to find a coach, find a mentor. I found Jake and Gino. That's who I ended up joining their community. They took me in open arms, really got me educated, really got my mindset right, got me clarity onto what my goals were and how to get there. And I ended up just crushing goals over the next 2 years. And now here we are, 2 years later after meeting Gino. Our real estate portfolio is up 5 times from when I first met you, Duc, and joined the community, and my net worth is up somewhere around 6 or 7 times what it was in 2016, 2017 when I was trying to do everything solo by myself. So I'm so happy, so excited about this show of getting into Gino's head a little bit and kind of have him give us his story and also just tons of golden nuggets. So please listen in here to this show and keep an open mind. If you haven't got out and got a coach, got a mentor yet, definitely think about it, especially real estate. This is not, it's a team sport. This is an industry where everything's been done 1,000 times. So there's no point for you to try to go everything alone and try to reinvent the wheel at every turn, every decision you make. It's like the first time it's getting made. Everything's been done before. Somebody's done it. You can go out there, get coaching, get mentorship, and really shorten your learning curve, which will explode your growth of your company, your personal growth, but also the growth of your company and your portfolio, and subsequently your streams of income. So let's get right into it. I'm super excited for this show, and I don't want to wait anymore.
Welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Project. Today we have a very special guest, Gino Barbaro. Gino is an investor, business owner, author, and entrepreneur. He has grown his real estate portfolio to over 1,600 multifamily units with over $100 million in assets under management. He is the co-founder of Jake and Gino, a multifamily real estate education company that offers coaching in real estate. He's the best-selling author of 3 books, Wheelbarrow Profits, Family, Food, and the Friars, and The Honeybee. Gino, welcome to the show.
Guys, I'm excited to be here on the Cash Flow Project because like we like to say, if it don't cash flow, then let the grass grow, my friend. So great title. I love the podcast name.
Yeah. So for those who haven't heard your story, can you please take a few minutes to fill them in? How did you get started?
Sure. I was in the restaurant business for most of my adult life. I love the restaurant business, and we were speaking off camera. It was just a great experience for me. I had over 20 years with my family, my brother, and it just got to a point where in the Great Recession, it was hard. Working a lot more hours, making less money. And it really started to feel like a W-2 job. It didn't feel like a little business anymore to me. And I just wanted some type of passive income. That's why I got into multifamily real estate, just to get that passive income, make a couple $1,000 a month more. I've got 6 kids, so I've got a lot of expenses, got a lot of colleges to pay for. So for me, that was my guiding principle to get into multifamily real estate. I was fortunate to meet Jake back in 2009. We partnered together. He went down to Knoxville, Tennessee in 2011, got together. It took us 18 months to find that first deal. And, we did. We found that first deal through perseverance, through getting thrown out of brokers' offices. Y'all ain't going to do business down here. A lot of things we learned during that 18 months, but we stuck through it because we know what we wanted. He wanted to get out of his pharmaceutical sales job day to day, and I wanted to get out of the restaurant ultimately. So for us, it was great. He was in the market, and I was living in New York at the time, and we were able to, get that first deal. After that, the second deal came 3 months later. Third deal came A year after that, very similar to what Vince's progression has been. It's you get in the game, all of a sudden momentum starts, and you start learning things, and you start raising capital, you start meeting partners, and that's what happened with Jake and I. So for us, it was great. I love partnering with him, and we continue to partner to this day. We have several businesses together.
Awesome. So what's the story behind Rand, and how did you come up with that name?
Well, he is a disciple of Atlas Shrugged. I've read. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've read, I don't know, probably close to, let's say, 500 books. I've read so many books, right? That's one book that I started reading about a quarter way into it. I'm like, I'm already living this. This is what's going on in this country right now. So why do I need to read it? You know what I'm saying? So he's like, you know what? We need to name our companies L. Hammond, Jay Galt, H. Reardon, Dan Conia, all the names of all the people in the book. And our company, we call it Multifaceted Multifamily, the Rand Power Wheel. So our company is called the Rand family of companies, whether it's Rand Property Management, Rand Partners, Rand Capital. Behind me, you'll see right here, you'll see Rand Cares as far as our charitable arm and for all the YouTubers. So it's really a testament to what he loves about the book. It's really free market enterprise, and it really instills trying to create value in the marketplace. And those who are not creating value in the marketplace should go bankrupt, and those who do are rewarded. And multifamily is a great testament to that, where you're scaling up. The more residents you can take care of, the more investors you have, the more money you're going to make, the more value you add to the marketplace. So Jake is one of his favorite books of all time for him.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite book of all time. I think it's Atlas Shrugged.
Uh-huh.
So what is your why for building passive cash flow?
For me, like I said, I had 6 kids, and the restaurant was a grind, working weekends. When you're out there surfing on the weekends, I'm out working at the restaurant, and I hated that. I hated missing out on a lot of the parties, the holidays. I would be working on Christmas Eve. I was working on Easter. And I that was my why, was being able to work when I wanted to. If I've got to work at 7:00 at nighttime, not a problem. If I got to work every now and again on a Saturday or Sunday, not a problem. But I wanted to be able to work when I wanted to, where I wanted to, why I wanted to, and most importantly, with who I wanted to. That was what retirement ultimately looked like to me, not just hanging out on the beach. I want to live near the beach, which is fine, which is what I'm doing, but ultimately working, with purpose and with passion. And my other why, I guess, was just to be a role model to my children. And I wasn't doing that at the restaurant. I felt like I was just going there, and I wanted my kids to see that I like my job. Not only, you will only need to work hard, but isn't it rewarding to go to a job that you like? I wasn't raised that way. I was raised in the immigrant mentality. You got to go to work, and you got to suffer, and you got to put in the time, and you'll get paid. But why do I need to do that? Why can't I figure out a way to really enjoy what I'm doing and work at the same time? So I guess, in the back of my mind, that was always a why, just to show my kids that work can be fun, and you can get paid a lot of money for doing something that you like.
Definitely. So why invest in multifamily real estate?
4 reasons. Write them down. Cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits. You have cost segregation, right? And the 4th one is really cycle resiliency. You guys are seeing right now, you go into a recession, people still need a place to live. Our price is going to pull back? Probably, but we're not just buying with the 3-step framework of buy right, manage right, and finance right. Our 3-step, we're not just buying for today. We're buying for the long term. If you can get long-term fixed rate financing on these deals, like we're looking to do, you're buying for cash flow. You're buying for appreciation. You're buying to build a business and to scale a business. And all of a sudden you have a multifamily property, you're able to build additional businesses around it, whether you're creating a mortgage company, whether you're creating a property management company, whether you're creating a syndication company that you can, start raising money from investors, or you have an education company. So, multifamily lends to all of those different arms or all those different other facets of revenue. Plus it's, Duke, it's a basic human need, food, clothing, and apartments. That's what it comes down to. People need a place to live, and there are less people buying homes right now, and there are more people buying apartments and more renting apartments.
Definitely a super essential need.
Mm-hmm.
So how does an investor listening to this build streams of cash flow instead of a job?
Slowly, right? You have to learn, I think, what you're doing. First of all, I think it's always taking that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles always starts with the first step. So for us, it was always education. We always stress education times action equals results. When I first started, it was tough. I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't have the education. I went out and I got educated. I got coached by my mentor on multifamily. I was buying self-storage. I was buying mixed-use buildings. And I was in the wrong niche for me. And then when I decided to myself, I said, I want multifamily right now. I went out and I got educated. And, I would say start with the end in mind. Start with thinking about building that business. Start with thinking about creating systems. Start with creating, the team members that you want. But if you don't have them in the beginning, don't let that stop you. Because the most important thing today is to get into a deal, to find a deal. How do you do that? You select the market, focus on a market, and then you go out and you start underwriting deals and start meeting brokers and talking to brokers and putting in offers. And then from there, you buy your first deal, you'll figure it out. You'll buy your second deal. And then from there, you're like, wow, I have other avenues or other ways to start making money from multifamily. But I think the first step is really to start and to focus and to decide that today is the right day to get into multifamily.
Definitely. So please take a few minutes and tell us about the most recent deal that you sponsored and how did you structure it? How is it performing?
Sure. The last deal we did was we closed on it 2 months ago, and it came from the Jake and Gino community. A couple of students brought it to us, and it's an interesting deal because it's a smaller deal. It's only a 52-unit deal. It's about $85,000 a door. And it's a deal that we traditionally wouldn't really look at, right? It was a little bit small, but what we like about it in this part of the market cycle, it's a newer asset. It's a early 90s, late 80s build. So we like that. It's all brick. The other thing is it's well below the replacement value. So to replace these are probably 120,000 unit. We like that. It was a property where their rents were $700 a month, and the students that brought them to us said, "Hey, I think we can raise them to $800." And we knew in our market that those were going for $900. So we tested it first month. Corona was hitting. We got $895 day one on these properties. So there was a definite value add component to it. We liked it because in this part of the cycle, there's not much CapEx requirements. They're newer builds. They're in really good shape. They're in a desirable area. So you're usually normally going to pay a little bit more for these kinds of properties. You're not going to get them for 40 or 50,000 unit, but that's fine because they're built in. And what was really interesting about this deal, we used community bank financing on this deal. So what we did was we all partnered up. We all put our capital in. We got an 85% loan to value on this property with the community bank. I think the rates were, low fours, 25-year amortization. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that as a bridge, quote unquote, bridge financing. Once this property is completely stabilized, we'll reposition it. Rents are going to go up. NOI is going to go up. We're going to bring this to agency debt and refi this out at agency debt. So we'll pull all the capital we have out. The deal's performing. And what's nice about it, it's a long-term hold. And it's great because the CapEx is done. We're not going to worry about roofs. We don't have to worry about the brick. We don't have to worry about the driveways and the exteriors because they're all in great shape. And I guess the last thing, the cherry on the top, you do a cost segregation study and a $4.5 million asset, you're getting a decent amount of bonus depreciation day one. So for us, it was a clean deal, a nice deal, total mom and pop seller. Had no financials. The students took 6 months before anything happened. Then we jumped in, we helped out, took another 3 months to close the deal. But it's one of those deals that it's going to be a nice long-term hold. And, Duc, when we talk about analyzing deals, the 3 pillars of real estate are really important. When you look at it, you have to look at a deal in those 3 components, whether you're looking at the market cycle, the debt, and the exit strategy. So this deal, we looked at the market cycle where we were. The vintage was great. The location was great. The debt component, we wanted to refi this deal out. So we said, you know what? If we go to agency from day one, we have to put down more. The LTV is going to be a lot higher, a lot lower. It's going to be about 60, 70, 65 to 70% LTV. So we need to come up with more cash. We're going to have less rate of return on this deal. And then also refining it out, you got to worry with prepayment penalty. So we said community bank is the best part. And the exit strategy was for us also on this deal is for long-term hold. So putting all 3 of those components together, we thought this was a perfect deal. And we thought, it's one of those deals that was too good to pass up, even though we'd wished it was a little bit bigger because 52 units is one of those deals where you can't really get full-time maintenance or management on the property. But at the same time, we were fortunate where we had another asset right next to it. So we lumped them together and we're sharing resources. So that property is using a maintenance tech from another property and we're using the office to rent out those 52 units from another office. So it worked out really well for us.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple awesome things on there. Definitely with the market cycle and the vintage of that property, the 80s property, and to kind of explain that when you're comparing those two, I think the term out there was the CapEx title waiver,
Yes, the
Yeah,
CapEx tsunami. That's the Bill Ham.
That's it. Yeah, the Bill Ham.
Yes. Yeah. So good question, Vince. What I think we really need to do is when you look at the framework, the buy right, the manage right, and finance right, the reason why we're looking at that vintage is because all the older assets are so overpriced. Yep. And I don't mind buying an older asset, right? I don't mind buying a 1970s. We bought a 1970s deal, 146 units, December of 18, about a year and a half ago. We bought it even in this part of the market cycle because we got great pricing on it. We paid $27 a door. We're going to be into it for a little over $30 a door. It's going to be worth $50 a door. So we don't mind buying it. It's just a problem at this part of the cycle. A couple of months before Corona hit, people are buying C properties, 1960s and 70s at 4 caps. So they're overpaying for that asset. It's really a function of the price. And in this part of the market cycle, everything is so elevated. So if you're buying a property that's distressed, that has a lot of value add components, but you need to put a significant amount of CapEx into it, you're already into that property. You've already added so much more value to the property, but where's the price point? Is that price point going to be there? And when the market resets, if you don't have that long-term fixed rate financing and you can't pay that mortgage, there's a lot of risk on there. So I'm not saying to buy that in this part of the cycle because it's great and all. If you find those C properties but can buy them at a really great price, you can do that also. And as far as the CapEx tsunami, one of our coaches that's one of his fears. One of his concerns is, in the next couple of years, Fannie and Freddie, the agencies might come and say, you know what, you've got an old asset here. For you to sell it, you need to fix the roofs here. You need to fix the driveways. And that's something that might be a little scary because if you overpaid for that property and all of a sudden you can't sell it because you have to do all those repairs, what happens? You're going to be stuck. You're going to be in big trouble. And you're going to become the next mom and pop seller. Does that make sense, Vince?
Exactly. And not just the roofs and the stuff that you can see. A lot of these properties are going to have like underground infrastructure, things with the foundation, things with the main water lines that go out to the city or have drainage fields or something like that. Like those are the CapEx tsunamis. Like it's been underground for 50 years, rotting. Yes. Now all of a sudden starts deteriorating. Those are, 6-figure jobs easy. So definitely when you're dealing with, the 60s and 70s, that stuff is going to have to start being put into your underwriting and your buying and exit strategy. So
yes. But like you said, like I just reiterated, if it's a function of price, if you can get it for a great price and you can budget it in for CapEx and there's still room for a value add and there's still room for you to raising that NOI and refine that out or making a profit on it, go for it. But if not, don't be wishful and say, I'm not going to have to worry about the plumbing because sooner or later you're going to be worrying about the plumbing. It's a hot potato. And the last 3 or 4 years, as properties were appreciating, they were getting passed from one person to the next. Well, now it looks like things are starting to come due. And that person who has that big CapEx problem, if he doesn't fix it, he may not be able to sell it or he's going to sell it at a significant discount.
Exactly. Yep. So that was awesome. Can you expand on some of the frustrations that you had in your past life and then how being an entrepreneur has given you and your family freedom? I know you mentioned that a little bit, but so a lot of our audience, are going to be that working professionals that are having those same frustrations and they're just looking for, something on the other side. And I know for us, I've already given my spiel on it, but somebody that's actually made the transition, super successful, just maybe some of those frustrations and what you saw and how your current life is.
So it's really weird. I mean, I'm going to mention something that some people probably never even thought of or never even thought of doing. I would say go out and get a life coach because for me, I went to life coaching school for personal development. And when I went to coaching school, I had gotten a lot of clarity. You had asked me about my why. You had asked me about my goals. I knew how to set goals, but I never thought about goals in the way that achieving something, getting your next 50 units, you're not worried about the goal to achieve. You're worrying about becoming the person you need to become to get to that goal. And people don't know that distinction because for me, I had hit a goal. It was great. What's next? I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying the process. So, it's about clarity. And, the struggles that I had was more about, I don't like what I'm doing. And it was more of the, that rat race mentality where you're making a paycheck and everyone says, you know what, you have a little stability. And for me, I'm going to tell you out there, there's no such thing as stability when you work for somebody else. I always wanted to work for myself. And there's a big responsibility. You become a leader and you don't become an entrepreneur overnight. It's a learning experience. It may be lonely sometimes. People may think you're crazy and that's okay because I've noticed that when you go the opposite direction that people are going, you're probably going the right direction because, you follow the mass, you follow the crowd, you get average results because most people out there are just average. That's just the reality. I don't mean to sound mean or anything, because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. And for me, I was frustrated because I was putting in that hard work. And there's a lot of people out there that are putting that hard work in. And there's a difference between activity and really results. I was doing a lot of work that seemed like I was being busy work, but to put in the work that generates revenue was what the distinction for me that finally made me become successful. It made me realize how to actually start building a business and scaling a business.
Exactly. So, I've mentored with you for a while now, and the importance of shedding those limiting beliefs, goal setting. So somebody as successful as you now, do you still have mentors?
Oh, 100%. Weren't you on the call last month with Chris Voss? Wasn't that a great coaching call, right?
Was.
I look at mentors as anybody who's ahead of where you want to be, or even level to you, but you can share anything that's going on. We had just finished doing Petra coaching as far as scaling up, because we were scaling up our businesses. So we've done that. We had a coach help us out with public speaking. We've had coaches help us out with speaking from stage. We've had coaches help us out with so many different various things, helping us out write books and helping us create content. So, it's all out there. And I think people think of it as an expense. But what I can tell you is, when you're doing all this type of education and all this type of learning, you're investing in yourself. And once you learn those skills, once, like Vince, you learn that negotiation skill, you spent the money to learn it, all of a sudden that's yours forever. That's yours to take. Nobody can take that away from you. And that's what I think people, they think of it as an expense, and just change your mindset from looking at that as a line item expense to an investment in yourself. And the best thing you can do is make an investment in yourself. So don't be afraid of going out there and leveraging other people out there who are doing things that you want to do and learn from them. That's one of the things that really helped Jake and I out. If we don't know something, we're going to go out and ask for help, and we're going to pay for people to help us learn it. Because if you've never scaled a business, if you've never bought a multifamily property, if you've never negotiated a deal, wouldn't it be better to help somebody be there, have somebody to help to help you out to do it? For me, it's just helps you out, moves the learning curve a lot quicker, and you're going to become more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to get a lot of people I know to like go get coaching and whatever they're trying to get into. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, I don't need a coach. I'm like, but you're not the best. Yeah, you could be. Like, why wouldn't you go get a coach to see if you can reach your true potential and just pay for it? And they're like, I'm not going to pay somebody to teach me how to do this. And they just, a lot of them just have I don't know if it's an ego thing or what, but they're just so against, getting mentorship and getting coaches.
Have you ever read the book Relentless by Tim Grover?
I have not.
Okay, so good book. I mean, but the real big takeaway from that book is he was a super coach. He was a coach for Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade and a lot of the top basketball players. And if these guys can have coaches that are coaching them on nutrition and conditioning and mindset, and they need coaches, then who do you think we all need coaches? We all need that, because they're working at the top of their levels. How do you think they got there? How do you think they stay there? That one or two tips that they get from that conditioning coach. Hey, lift your elbow up a little bit when you're shooting. Hey, do another 3 reps. Or hey, you know what? You're having too much carbs. Or hey, you know what? Focus on this a little bit more. Those little tweaks that they get really raises their level. So if they're out there, Tiger Woods using a coach to help with his stroke and help with his nutrition, if they're utilizing coaches, I think we should all be utilizing coaches.
Absolutely. Even if like you said, even if it's somebody that maybe is not ahead of you on the curve, but lateral, then they can still be an accountability coach. Yep. They can just, hey, we might be at the same level of whatever this thing we're doing, but I need you to call me on a Sunday afternoon, make sure I'm not sitting on the couch.
That's right.
Watching, TV. Right. So there's different, levels of coaching as well. So absolutely. If you want to do something, the best thing to do is get a coach, get a mentor to, shorten that curve. So I know, I see over your shoulder, the multifamily podcast that you have. So a lot of that, you talk about balancing work and life. How has being an entrepreneur, business owner helped with being able to balance that home life to achieve that why that you want? It was, be there for your kids growing.
So for me, I'm a little different than most. I'm obsessed with working. I like to work. I like the results more than making the money or anything. But, getting off a call like we had today, we had an Ask Me Anything today call with our students, right? And getting off that call and getting emails from people saying, hey, you know what? Great job. I really needed that. Or, hey, you know what? Can you offer me advice? Or, you know what? I just closed in a deal. I made $1.2 million. I just got an email from a student. He closed the deal. I'm like, you know what? I'm busy. Call me Saturday. That is what drives me. I love that more than anything else. And I should have more balance, but I love to work because of that. But like today, for instance, I'm going to go bike ride with my daughter at 5:00. I've got a coaching call at 7:00 tonight. So I can pick and choose when I want to go to work and when I can spend time with the family, but I can also loop my family into the business. My wife is doing a podcast with me. I can share that experience with her. She's coaching a lot of the Jake and Gino students. She comes to the boot camps. My son, who's 17, and my daughter, who's 20, they're both going to get certified as life coaches. I think it's really important, and they're really energized. They both work in the business with me, so it's a real business affair, and I love that because they're part of my life, and the business world and working is a real important part of my life. So being able to share that with them and being able to have them part of my life. If I had to go to an office and work by myself, it'd be a different dynamic. You're away 40 to 50 hours a week from your family. We actually talk about it during on the dinner table. Well, I'm doing a Wheel of Our Profits Youth Academy video today. Gabs, can you shoot the video with me? Can you edit this with me? Did I look good? What should I say? Sharing all those experiences with the family is awesome. I wouldn't have it any other way. And that's one of the benefits that I had when I worked at the restaurant. All the kids would work with me at the restaurant. I love that. I'd bring them in. They'd work in the front of the house with my mother and my brother while I work in the kitchen. So I experienced that there, and I just brought it over to the Jake and Gino. And, you don't need balance in life if you love what you're doing. I don't need to say I need to spend 3 hours a day with my kids and 8 hours. It just blends over. And if I spend a little more time today at work, then tomorrow I'll spend a little more time with them tomorrow. But if I want to go fishing with them tomorrow morning at 7:00 before I go jump on calls, I can do that also. So there's no thing saying where, hey, I'm going to retire, I'm going to shut down. I don't want to do that. I mean, if anyone out there wants to do that, that's great. Get clarity. Make sure that you know why you're doing something, why you're doing it. I thought coming down here from New York, I was going to pack it in. When I got down here and I had enough money from real estate, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't want to go to the beach every day. That's not what I want to do. So I started Jake and Gino, and from there, that's what ended up growing. And I love it. And I'm working just as much now as when I was working at the restaurant.
But you said, it's something you're passionate about. It goes back to the do what you want, where you want, with whom you want. And that's exactly what, you're doing. You're living that. And that's, can't wait to get there, being shed the 9 to 5, so to speak, so I can work just as hard, but involve my kids. Yes. Like when I was down there in Orlando, your daughter with the camera, taking the pictures. Yeah. Other kids at the booth, selling the t-shirts and, handing out the not the brochures, but the guides, right?
Yes.
For the event. Yep. So that was awesome. I was like, man, I can't wait. So close. So yeah, that is beautiful to see that, everybody's involved, and excited to be there. So another thing I know that, Rand is very, big on is the importance of cultivating a culture within an organization. You have your very solid core values, and everybody from your property managers to the management team, you and Jake, they're all living these core values in this culture. Can you kind of touch on like where you got that from and how integral has it been in the success of the Rand companies?
Well, for us, when we first started out, Jake and I don't want to say we didn't know about core values. Jake had culture and core values at his company, Glaxo, but he was a terrible employee and he thought they were crap. He didn't like, what do I need core values for, right? And for me at the restaurant, I kept complaining that, hey, I can't hire the right employees. It's because I really never thought about my core values and my mission statement. So 3 or 4 years into Jake and Gino and into Rand, into buying these properties, we're growing. We need to hire employees and we keep getting the wrong employees. What are we doing wrong? So obviously from the Petra coaching and the scaling up, first thing we worked on, what are your core values? And I would challenge everybody on the call right now, whether you have 1 property or 100 properties, whether you're getting into it, wherever you are, sit down and think about what your core values are. Think about what you want from your life, what you want from your business, and what you want your business to aspire to. And it's not a marketing ploy. It's not something you write down. It's not something you're going to sell. It's something that you're living. And I think, Vince, you can attest to it. We're people first, right? We put our coaches first. We put our residents first. We put our investors first. We put our education students first. We put our capital when we're raising money. Like I said, the investors, all those people are first. So we want to focus on them, right? And our employees. We think of extreme ownership. When something goes wrong, you don't hear Josh complaining and saying, hey, you know what? I didn't get this done. He owns up to it. My fault, my bad. I fixed that, right? Growth mindset. Constantly on those calls, every month, every week, reading books, sharing, constantly growing. That's what we're talking about. Make it happen. Unwavering ethics. Those are a couple other of our core values. You want to live by those core values. You want to hire and fire by those core values. Yeah. So for Jake, the light bulb went off a couple of years ago. He had an employee. She was assistant property manager. She was pretty good, but she said, one day Jake's like, we have to mop the office. And she's like, that's not my job. So Jake's like, ding, 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 core value, gone. Cut her off the next day because she's not living the core values. Because if Jake can go into the office and mop the floors, and if Gino can pack books and send thank you cards, then the employees can do that also. And we want to have that type of culture. We're a smaller, tight-knit culture where we can't afford certain things. We have to bootstrap it ourselves. As we grow, we want to continue to have that. But I think core values are really important, and they're a guiding principle for you. And when you want to get into a partnership, those core values will go into a partnership, whether it's with the students that we did a deal, whether you're partnering with other people, and when you partner with other people, you're partnering with employees too. You're bringing those employees on. That's really a guiding principle as to what our company does. We live by them. You have to live by them. So take a little time to figure out what yours are, formulate them, and then, live by them and hire and fire by them.
Exactly. And then even if, I read, Jake's recommendation for traction, the EOS model. So I'm reading that right now, and we're going to be planning some kind of getaway where we can kind of get down and shut out the world and really sit down through these stuff, because how important it is. And the management team is all rowing in the same direction, so to speak.
100%. And that's why you have to work on your goals with your partners. Make sure your partners are going in the same direction. If one partner wants to scale up and buy 5,000 units, but the other partner's like, I want to slow down a little bit. Well, maybe that partnership has to be stopped or has to be changed, or whatever. You have to really assess that. And as far as taking those weekends off, you need to do quarterly priorities. One thing we learned, you need to really communicate with your partnership. Weekly meetings at a minimum, you need to have it. And within all the different entities we have what we call weekly L10, level 10 meetings in the traction books. We have that also. We have our morning huddles with our individual entities, whether it's the Jake and Gino or the Rand partners. And then we've been instituting end of day huddles, like 10 minutes at around 5:00 PM every day, just to get together with all the, about 10 or 12 of us, talking and sharing wins. Because since this pandemic hit, you really need to be over communicating. That's one thing that I've learned. I don't really like to communicate. I don't like to talk. I don't like to share my feelings, but that doesn't mean that other people don't. So I have to be there for my team and I have to say, okay, what's going on today? Let me know about your wins. And that's, one thing that a leader does is just know what other people do. And just to be able to over communicate is a really important thing that we need nowadays.
Yep. Yeah. Communicate and just presence, and that's just any kind of management team. They need everybody needs to see you being there and willing, walking the walk with them.
Yeah.
Is huge for any kind of leadership, or it doesn't matter what your industry is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's shift gears a little bit, going to the honeybee. So in the honeybee, the character Tom, right, teaches us about building multiple streams of income. We call it going vertical in a lot of aspects of the business. Can you expand on just how business owners should be looking at their own tasks or their own businesses to be able to identify those opportunities?
Well, the internet over the last 10 years has shed a lot of opportunity, right? Because 10 years ago, it'd be really hard to get a podcast together, right? It'd be really hard to do YouTube videos. It'd be really hard to get blogs together, maybe a little bit later, but the mom and pop, the brick and mortar have such an opportunity now to create a brand. You guys are creating a brand, right? You're becoming known. Jake and Gino have created a brand. So I think every little small business owner needs to take it from that perspective. Let's create a brand. And Noah in the book basically followed our perspective. He started out with a small little Airbnb. Mm-hmm. Then from there, he went and bought a couple, single duplexes and triplexes. And then from there, he got stuck. He's like, I can't grow anymore. I remember Tom saying to him, think of who, not how. That's when the entrepreneur all of a sudden says, I can start scaling up and I can start sharing the pie. So he hires property management, takes the property management in-house, delegates that, and he frees himself up to start to buy and continue to scale up and buy more properties. And then from there, He follows the model of Jake and Gino. He can do a little bit of an education. Then all of a sudden he brings property management in-house, creates another layer of revenue. He has a CapEx team, and from on and on, he continues to grow. I think the entrepreneur, one of the difficult things is knowing, where to dedicate a lot of your time. It's really focused on generating revenue. If you can do a task like $15 or $20 an hour, and it's whether it's bookkeeping, whether it's fixing a toilet, those are things that an entrepreneur leader shouldn't do. Does he need to do them in the beginning? Obviously, the I'm a mentality. When we first start out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's hard. Once you do that, you love that control. But for you to understand, to grow and to scale and to find other people who can do that work, and your job is to really have the big picture and to start hiring other people with those core values to fill in and help you out with all those priorities and all those tasks. That's what I think your job as an entrepreneur to do. And it's lonely sometimes because you're the one up here having the vision, making all the decisions, and you're trying to delegate and trying to coordinate with the rest of the team. Sometimes they don't see your vision, but you really can't be out there fixing toilets when you have 100 units or 150 units. That's why you're in multifamily, because you're going to have other people helping you with those tasks that, cost less. And you're out there underwriting deals. You're out there raising capital. You're out there creating content for your brand and putting a pitch book and walking deals. That's what you should be doing as the entrepreneur of multifamily, not painting an apartment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And I do that with my own life. And this isn't just toward the business, like the bookkeeping. This is like life in general. Like, I shouldn't be out, mowing my grass when I can pay, the kid across the street, $20 to come mow my grass so I can underwrite another deal.
Or you can do another podcast right now, right?
Yeah,
or you can write an article, or you guys can underwrite another deal. 100%. And that's a hard thing for people to understand because they look at it linearly, look at short term by saying, hey, I'm saving $20. But you know what? If I, record a podcast with Gino and I put it out there and somebody from Gino's education platform listens to it and they contact me because they like me and I just got an investor that can give me $50,000 for a deal. Well, hello, you can't make that connection, but that's the reality in life. So for $20 and not having to sweat for an hour and a half and not having to put gas and not having to do all that crap, unless you like it, of course, unless that's a passion of yours and you want to get out, that's a different story. But if that's like a menial task that you don't like to do, that's the way you have to look at it. And I know it's very difficult, but trust me, your time is your most precious asset. And if you can allocate your time to generating revenue tasks, you're going to make so much more money. You're going to be so much more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm done. I've wrapped up here with the rest of my questions. I just want to plug the book one more time. So for those who are watching this, I got to hear The Honeybee by Jake and Gino. Awesome book. It's a, what do you call it? It's a parable, right? So
did I sign that copy for you?
Yeah, this is the signed copy.
Oh, okay, bro. Yeah. How you like that? I got it out there too, huh? During the pandemic, I sent it out there. Good. They actually got it to you. I'm happy.
Yep. So this it's a parable. So it teaches lessons through story form. Tom and Noah, outstanding book. I put it right up there with Richest Man in Babylon, as far as the value it provides. So absolute awesome book. Definitely get it. You can read it really quickly. In a weekend, you can burn through it, and definitely teaches you. For me, it was that the entrepreneurial mindset of scaling, of being able to spot those opportunities. Like, hey, maybe we can bring that in house, and then next thing you know, they have this big company where they can step back and be like, wait a second, we have so many streams of income. We can step back and start doing what we want, where we want, with whom we want, and that's an awesome story. So thank you for writing that, and excited for the next book.
Thanks.
Whenever it comes.
So other than your own, what is the best book that you recommend?
Well, top of mind right now, I'm actually reading the book, I think by Jim Quick. It's Limitless. I'm like 80 or 90 pages into it. It's an awesome book. It's about limiting beliefs. It's about learning. It's about the brain. I think that's awesome. The classic, everyone probably says it on your show, but it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I love the book. I think it's an awesome book. Yeah.
This is my prized possession here. So for limiting beliefs for me, I don't know if you remember my story, is like I've come from pretty humble backgrounds and came into adulthood with a lot of insecurities about what I think I can achieve and everything like that. And then, picked up Think and Grow Rich. So once I started getting some real success as an entrepreneur, I paid the homage to Napoleon Hill and got a 1935 signed copy of of Think and Grow Rich. So this is like my, my whatever to myself, saying, my present to myself for all the hard work that I put in over the last, 7 years or so to get it. So absolutely foundational book to.
So what do you like about it?
Everything. So for me, and like meditation, like manifestation, like the visualization of what you want, your goals, or what this ideal life is, that has never like been taught, right? I'm in the military. Nobody's like, okay, we're going to do 10 minutes of, just being quiet, meditating, visualizing, that they don't teach that. So to be able to sit there and write your goals, write them daily, so they're always top of mind, and sit there and meditate with them, and actually visualize them as if they're present tense. Like I'm living here. I'm with, these people are my closest friends, or I have this amount of money coming in monthly, which is giving me the freedom to do these things. Talk to it, to the universe or whatever, as if it's already been achieved. I think has been huge. So over the last couple of years, I have a vision board because of it now. And like, I've been pulling stuff off my vision board, routinely now, because I'm like, oh, got that, pulled that off, got that, pulled that off. And absolutely. So that was one of the biggest takeaways on that, is just the meditating side of it, the writing down your goals daily, sometimes twice a day, and really just thinking about them as if you already have achieved them.
That's awesome. It's about focus and clarity. It gives you a lot of focus and a lot of clarity. And I think a lot of the gurus today, whether they're Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn, I think a lot of them have followed what he's saying. You have Brendan Burchard, you have all of them. They're great, but they're basically taking a lot of his principles, and myself, who are utilizing his principles, and really what he said is basically was true 100 years ago, and it's going to be true today, and it's going to be true 100 years from now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's he's definitely the OG of the self-help books and mindset books.
Love that.
Yeah, it's an evergreen model, so it makes sense that will still apply. What is your superpower?
I don't really have one, other than I work hard and I just commit and figure it out. If there's an email to send out, I'll have Josh in the office go, wait. I'm like, just send the email out. What's the worst thing that can happen? We make a mistake, we fix it, right? So I think just honestly working hard, and I try not to take things too personally. If something doesn't go wrong, I want to figure out what we did wrong and then readjust. But just working hard, grinding it out, and taking responsibility. I think everybody on this call has to figure out in life that you're responsible for your own life. If you don't have what you want, if you don't have what you want, it's because of you. You might have gotten some bad deals. You might have gotten bad parents. You might have gotten a bad situation. You might have a ton of debt, whatever that may be. But you can get what you want once you start taking responsibility. If you're not responsible for your life, you're hopeless, and you can't create goals and you can't create solutions. Once you say, you know what, I'm going to own up to it. I made the mistake. The next step is, okay, how do I fix that mistake? And how do I look for the opportunity from the problem? And that's how you start moving forward. So I think taking responsibility and really working hard are my superpowers.
Got it. So what is your next big project?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's, we have a lot of priorities with the company, as far as, fixing websites, home study guides, trademarks. We're getting, probably writing another book. But I think the next one, I just focus on weekly trying to help students and trying to grow the Jake and Gino community and trying to really provide value from that perspective. So for me, it's just constantly learning, constantly upgrading my skills, constantly becoming a better coach to people. So that's what I would have to say. As far as unit counts, we're probably looking Q3 to start a fund, real estate fund, instead of trying to do syndication. So that's a pretty hefty goal, but that's something that if it happens Q3, great. If not, Q4. So that's something that we'd like to do by the end of the year.
All right. So you've been so generous with your time. Let's wrap this up. Do you have any requests for our audience, and how can people reach out to you?
No requests. Just like I said, I think the most important thing is to understand, as what Vince and what Duc are doing here, become responsible for your life. And if you want to get to the next level, you have to surround yourself with people who are energized, who are like-minded, and who can really help you out and who can hold you accountable. And for me, that accountability piece was Jake. And I think I was Jake's accountability piece. And as we grew, we got more people. And now ultimately the Jake and Gino community is my accountability piece, because the better I get, the better the people in that community are going to be. So I really focus on trying to get better for them, and it makes me a better person. And I'm learning and I'm teaching. And as you teach, you learn even more. So for me, just go out there and focus on what you want and stop making excuses and really manifest what you want.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a true honor.
Yeah,
Guys,
absolutely. Thanks, Gino.
thank you. And if anybody wants to reach me, Gino@jakeandgino.com is my email, and website's jakeandgino.com. Thanks, guys.
I told you, Duke, Gino would not disappoint us. I've known Gino for 2 years, and even I'm sitting here taking notes every time he, starts dropping knowledge. So hopefully our listeners got some big nuggets, gold nuggets as well. And here's some of the ones I got. And first one, think with an end in mind. I got that, years ago, 10 years ago, when I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Any goal you have, any project you have, always think with an end in mind and build backwards to that. Make sure your ship is pointed in the right direction before you set sail. Next one is take responsibility of your life. You can't play this victim card your entire life. At some point, if you want to control your destiny and really achieve something for yourself, you're going to have to take control and take responsibility for the things that happen in life. Next one is get a coach and get a mentor, right? Obviously, I've done that. I coach and mentor with Jake and Gino, and now I'm part of their organization. And I help other people, other students achieve their real estate goals. So, he said if Michael Jordan, has coaches, then why shouldn't you, right? You gotta, at some point, you got to realize that there's people that are smarter than you, and they're out there and they're willing to help you if you're willing to walk the walk. There's a lot of coach and mentors out there that are just, they have the mindset of, the student will, or when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. And that's really true. The student has to be at a position where they're willing to accept new education, they're willing to accept direction, and then the coach or mentor will be there and provide that for them. So absolutely realize that you don't know everything. Realize there's an easier way to get to where you want to be. People have done this, thousands of years, this thing called life. And there's a lot of people that are willing to help you get there if you're willing to walk the walk, put in the work. They'll help you miss some of those potholes that they've stepped in themselves. All right. Next one is being flexible. And he didn't say this directly, but we have in the military, we have a term called semper gumby, right? Always flexible. And that's one of the things that you can get with education is with specifically real estate education. You can get all these tools of how to do creative financing, agency debt or community bank or seller financing or different ways of structuring deals. What you're doing is you're getting the education that all these different tools on how to put deals together. So as the market changes or as deals change, or as underwriting change, you don't just drop the bag and walk away like, oh, that deal didn't work on, I give up, I'm on to the next one. You just are constantly flexible in adjusting your underwriting, adjusting your strategy. And you have so many tools at your disposal because you're educated, because you know how these things work, that you can creatively keep putting deals together in any market cycle. And for me, that was the biggest thing that I did in my education was there was so much stuff I didn't know, but I got to a point where I realized, the light bulb hit on, like, wait a second, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and I need to figure out what I don't know. And that's where I went and got, some higher education on that to give me those tools so I can be able to identify how to put deals together, how to put structure deals, structure closing, structure financing to make sure, and in any market cycle, to make sure I can still get things done. Next one I have is building business around core values. A lot of people just kind of build business, they bootstrap it together, and then they realize why, they can't find good employees, good partners, because they don't have core values and they're not hiring based off of their core values. A lot of people hire based off of qualifications. And yes, qualifications are important, but if you're not aligned on your core values and on your trajectories and on your goals and your timelines, then that business is probably not going to do that well because that management team is not aligned and rowing in the same direction, so to speak. And yeah, that's all I have for the golden nuggets for this. So a ton of value on this show. Maybe you should go listen to it again. definitely a bunch of knowledge that Gino dropped today. So super excited, and I'm ready to get this aired and get it out there for everybody to listen to.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with his core values of people first, extreme ownership, growth mindset, make it happen, grit, and the willingness to get your hands dirty. So I love that. So if you're interested in connecting with us, go to tricityequity.com to learn more. To connect with like-minded investors, join our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and more. And if you found value in this podcast, please subscribe and give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. If you know anyone who might resonate with today's podcast, please share the episode with them. See you next time.